When I saw it, I almost dropped my phone. XRP, $1,000 for each coin, not one day in the far future. A well-known person in the XRP community says that the next chapter is where everything changes. At first, it sounds too good to be true, right? Then I felt like I should look again. There is a good reason why someone in the XRP community is calling what will happen next. Starting point of a huge change in the economy that shocks everyone watching. To be honest, XRP is no longer stuck in the same game that the rest of crypto is stuck in. This is the start of the major leagues. This is not advice about money. This is what caught my eye right away. The last thing Ripple did was spend $1 billion to connect XRP to the financial systems of some of the world's biggest companies. It's not a marketing deal. It's not a test run. A fully scalable way to get into global business finance. Everything changed when I saw what was going on behind the scenes. My thoughts changed from XRP will explode someday to XRP is being set up right now for the moment the world realizes it is important. And now, if you really want to get ahead of the next big financial wave, let's look at why some very strong people think this is the start of XRP's most explosive part. For $1 billion, Ripple bought a business called G-Treasury. G-Treasury isn't just any financial technology tool. Businesses from all over the world use this tool every day to keep track of their cash, liquidity, and payments across borders. The finance departments of the Fortune 500 companies depend on this method to move billions of dollars. Now, that infrastructure is linked straight to the XRP ledger. Think of the world's financial system as a huge system of pipes that carry money. A lot of pipes are old, slow, and pricey. To change a pipe, Ripple didn't ask for approval. Ripple paid for one of the big pipelines outright and linked XRP to it. That means that big businesses can now use XRP to move money around instantly and behind the scenes. It doesn't matter if leaders never say, XRP is now powering our payments. The integration is already there and ready to go. This is what people who own XRP have been waiting for. Real business size, real promise for volume, useful stuff. It is now moving into the core of the world money flow. When it comes to compliance and regulations, G-Treasury checks all the boxes that companies care about. There is no doubt that when Fortune-level CFOs flip the switch, they are using a method that has been approved for use by elite financial operations. XRP is taken seriously not because of hype or guesswork, but because it works where it counts most. Now look at the time. The most XRP it ever had was about 384. That price was reached years ago, before this kind of integration, before institutional lines were put in place, and before global finance had the chance to connect XRP to real flows. The world is moving toward digital settlement these days, tokenized value and the flow of money in real time. XRP is already situated in a way that makes this change happen faster. Think about how money really moves between countries. Holdups, costs, like toll booths, correspondent banks. Companies from around the world lose time and money while they wait for transfers to clear. This problem can be solved by XRP, which works very quickly and doesn't cost much compared to old methods. This is a no-brainer when global companies know they can quickly rebalance funds across continents with no problems. Retailers may not notice at first when volume goes up. This is what makes the moment so exciting. Big institutions don't care about talk. They act when the system is ready, tested, scalable, and up to code. Ripple has quietly checked off all the boxes that banks need to see before they let huge amounts of money flow through a new network. That's taking place now. When insiders say that XRP could hit double, triple, or even 4 digits, they are not just guessing. The math behind those predictions is very easy to understand. Price will follow use if XRP becomes a core payment layer for trillions of dollars in global liquidity. The more value that needs to flow through XRP, the more valuable XRP needs to be in order to support that number well. No, that's not just wishful thought. That has to do with cash math. Now, however, everything that is needed for adoption does exist. With the addition of institutional custody, global compliance standards, corporate integrations, liquidity hubs, and on-demand settlement and tokenization infrastructure, XRP is now standing on the ground it was built on from the start. The very quiet look of the top is what makes this stage so exciting. The price of XRP has been calm, but that piece isn't really there. It's just before the curtain goes up. Improvements to the infrastructure always come before a new market value. People around the world will quickly recognize what has been built for XRP. Imagine a multinational company using XRP to quickly move millions of dollars between Asia and Europe. Think about dozens of big companies doing this every day to replace slow systems with ones that settle in real time. There is more liquidity. Volume speeds up. XRP turns into the unseen engine that powers almost everything. The change takes place behind the scenes, so stores won't notice it until after the move has already started. Because of this, belief is important. People who know what is being built aren't pacing back and forth over short-term maps. They are getting ready. They are setting up. They know that real wealth comes from seeing things that other people haven't seen yet. The billion-dollar deal that Ripple made wasn't interesting. It was a planned attack. The key that opens the door to corporate finance was given to them. Most small traders don't look in these places, but the next wave of acceptance will come from them. There are institutional liquidity offices, settlement hubs, and treasury departments. People who know Ripple's long-term goals will say that now is the time when XRP's fate starts to unfold. Because now, all of the world's money can flow straight through the XRP ledger on a large scale. There is no sluggishness or delay here. XRP is designed to be fast, scalable, and able to reach people all over the world. Everything is in place, momentum can change quickly, and when it does, every price goal that seemed risky at first turns out to be the obvious outcome. Now for the real question, when this change is no longer possible to deny, will you be responding to the news or already ready for the next step? People who pay attention before the main event are the ones who win. Ripple is doing the best job possible. They don't need permission to do this. They are in charge of moving to digital agreements that happen in real time. The job that XRP was made to do from the start is now being done. The world of banking is changing quickly, and XRP isn't the only thing that's changing. XRP is at the operator station. It kept occurring to me why so many people were observing this event without making a big deal out of it. Most of the time, when smart money sees hype growing, they jump on it early and loud. This time, they are whispering. They seem to know something. While everyone else is busy arguing on social media about price goals and other tribal crypto nonsense, they are just getting ready. What is going on in the world banking system is one of the big changes that keeps coming up. The lack of cash has become painfully clear. Big countries have too much debt. Interest costs are going through the roof. The value of currencies is going down, and the usual systems that move money between countries can't work well in this situation. When there is no more cash, the system needs another way to get money. This is when a neutral digital asset with fast settlement and no counterparty risk turns into more than just a fun crypto experiment. It turns into important infrastructure. That's exactly what XRP was made for. It's not trying to get people's attention by teasing a land grab in the metaverse or some game token theory. From the beginning, it has been aimed at a single goal. The value of a bridge can be used to move money anywhere, quickly and easily, and on a global scale without breaking. Something that isn't tied to any one type of value, but is neutral. Every piece of bread always leads back to the main idea. A point of fear always comes up. What is the event that makes the world actually adopt something new if this change is really happening? The way money works now never changes on its own. It only changes when the old thing isn't working well enough to hide the breaks. It's getting cracked in ways that can't be fixed with more printed money. When countries can't pay their foreign debt, they have to find a new way to settle trade and keep the balance. When cash flows across borders stop, global trade slows down and big businesses are put under a lot of pressure. When liquidity goes away, no one wants to be the one carrying the bag. Because of this, they are looking for something that can work outside of the normal structure. Ripple, on the other hand, has been working quietly with hundreds of institutions, not starting hype cycles, building corridors, and trying real settlement. Putting together hardware that is compliant and can be connected to the system when the time is right. They aren't going faster than the rules allow. They are setting themselves up so that when rules come out, they will already be able to use the answer. That's powerful because of this. The amount of money that has to flow through a bridge determines its value. People don't have to speculate on XRP to make the price change if it is used on a large scale for on-demand funding. Utility does the hard work. Demand for transactions does most of the work. The hard work is done by global financial markets. There is a number that I can't get out of my head. The market for sending money across borders moves more than $100 trillion every year. XRP settlement of even a small part of that amount changes everything. Math, not hype. Picture this. Most crypto users think about how the market values of different coins compare to each other. For memes and tech uptake plays, that way of thinking works. When you deal with an object that could be part of the financial system's plumbing, it breaks down. The value is no longer based on guesswork, because it has to be done, based on output, from the speed, from areas of high wealth that never sleep. This is why some experts say that the market capitalization, MC, is not the right way to figure out how much XRP is worth. If an asset serves as a bridge between two different types of debt, it doesn't put all of that value on its balance sheet at once. It goes through quickly, and the faster it goes, the more transactions it can handle, which is much higher than its basic market value would suggest. The system gets hooked on how well it works. More liquidity leads to more liquidity. The same thing strikes me every time I come back to this. The vast majority of buyers still have no idea what they own. For them, XRP is a competitor in the crypto world. They believe it's fighting with other layer 1 blockchains for a lot of attention, memes, and powerful people. What if that whole point of view is so small compared to what's really happening? What if XRP's real rival is the global correspondent banking network, which has been the leader in cross-border settlement for decades? That shows how big the chance is. The world of shopping speculation is not it. The world of lifelines for institutions. Now pay attention to something else that's going on at the same time. Trends toward less use of dollars are speeding up. Countries are looking for new ways to settle their differences that don't depend on a single currency. This doesn't mean that the US dollar goes away. This makes the monopoly less strong and calls for more neutral tools to keep foreign trade in balance. All of a sudden, a neutral bridge asset is the best way to move forward politically. It's not run by one country. It works with programs. It has a goal. It's not necessary to trust the other person. It only needs money and people who need it the most to adopt it. For years, critics said that all of this was just made up. They said the government would never get involved with cryptocurrency. After that, central banks started to test CBDCs. Regulators went from denying to making rules. Big names in payments started adding blockchain settlement layers. Banks began to play around in the background, away from the noise. The moment change is made permanent, it can't be seen. Holders of XRP are keeping an eye on the build-out. The distraction is being watched by everyone else. There's something else going on here. When there are changes in the banking system, wealth moves. It doesn't go away, it changes hands. People who see the change coming early get ready for it while prices are still in what looks like a range. People who come later buy from the early users for a lot more money. This is true for all cycles of new technology. The market doesn't give the new system enough value until it sees that the old one can't live without it. People forget how quickly how people feel can change. XRP has been thought to be stuck for months or even years. But progress in building things has not stopped. In fact, it has gotten stronger. Lawyers fought important court cases. Ripple kept adding new partners around the world. Enterprise adoption kept going. The price didn't move like a meme rocket, so most small buyers lost interest. They left just as the basics started to line up with intensity. What happens when you are ready and there is a need? This is the part where the theory changes into a scenario. Let's say that a global liquidity shock makes banks change their ways faster than anyone thought possible. Imagine that passageways that were once test runs are now being used for real. Imagine that the amount of on-demand funding grows every week. All of a sudden, everyone is looking again at what they missed. The story turns around. The same people who made fun of them are now chasing them. That window of time when things can calm down has always been small. Not because of the buzz, but because it works better. Whenever. How long-term users act during dull times is one of the most telling signs. One sign is that strong hands are getting more of an advantage that isn't getting much attention. Smart people collect things that don't seem important at first, but then they become important. I like to use a certain test of my mind. When you look at an asset, think about what the world will need of it in 5 years. Will it need more or less? You are ahead of schedule if the answer is more. It's likely that you are chasing a trend that will not last long if the answer is less. Everything points in the same way when I use that to XRP, in more demand, more useful, even more need. There is a merger going on right now that doesn't happen very often in markets. Big picture pressure from falling cash. Readiness of technology for institutional settlement. After years of misunderstanding, regulations are starting to become clear. International monetary competition moving toward neutrality. All roads heading toward digital transformation in the financial backbone of the world. Even if someone ignored hype totally, ignored predictions, ignored the community excitement, the data still speaks. This story is being written through infrastructure deals, global payment volume, and a rising need for answers that legacy systems cannot provide. The question that remains is time. Nobody can predict the exact moment when everything changes. It could be sparked by a geopolitical event, a banking crisis, a regulatory shift, or a competitive race between nations. What matters is positioning before the catalyst, not guessing the catalyst correctly. If investors wait until every headline confirms what early adopters already decided, the asymmetric upside is gone. Wealth is created by being correct before the majority knows why. I have thought a lot about this lately. People's doubts don't mean they're wrong. They are early because they are in pain. Early commitment doesn't get any praise. It's quiet, and people can't wait for the day when the silence ends. The story of XRP is not based on what if. It's based on when, because the path of global financial infrastructure has already changed. The old system can't go backwards because it's stuck. Innovation has gone too far and can't be turned back on. In banks and other institutions, the plans for what will happen next are already set up and ready to go. At this point, people either give up because the world hasn't rewarded their patience yet, or they realize that the phase itself is the prize. Accumulation is not noisy. You can't see utility until the numbers go through the roof. Adoption seems dull at first, but then it becomes clear. If you've been paying attention, you should be able to see the bigger scene now. XRP isn't just waiting for small traders to speculate, it's quietly becoming a part of the system that will control the flow of trillions of dollars around the world. This is not an idea. It's taking place. Right now, the building blocks are being put in place, and as usage grows, the effects will only get bigger. One of the most interesting things about this next stage is how quickly efficiency grows once the most important processes are in place. When a system cuts down on friction, speeds things up, and meets compliance standards, institutions don't accept it slowly. As soon as a Fortune 500 company successfully uses XRP to make cross-border payments or financial operations run more smoothly, other companies will follow suit. Others see how systems are copied, and what started out as a niche project quickly turns into the main way money moves in the real world. Think of XRP as a money route that you can't see. Businesses, banks, and payment companies can all use this highway at the same time without any problems. That's the power of fast, scalable settlement. And once that infrastructure is proven to work, the desire for XRP doesn't just go up, grows very quickly. It becomes more and more important as more money flows through it. Trust is another important point that can't be said enough. Institutions work in a world where people are held responsible. They can't try out solutions that aren't fully developed or assets that are too dangerous. Everything about XRP is perfect. It's designed well, it follows the rules, and it can now be used in business treasury systems. This is a rare place where speed, scale, and trust all come together. When these three things happen at the same time, growth speeds up at a rate that can't be predicted by market charts alone. It's all about timing. Until it's clear that they're wrong, markets often overprice usefulness. Right now, XRP's price may seem calm, but that's just the beginning of the storm. The kind of usage that is slowly growing could easily change how much the market is worth once institutions start taking part. The world knows that XRP isn't just another cryptocurrency when demand meets supply. It's a plan for how money will work in the future. We can see the patterns coming together. Exchanges are working on answers for custodial issues. Trials are being done by banks. On the XRP system, stablecoins are being made and tokenized assets are being used. Every single part is important. It is the combined method that makes big growth possible. When these parts work together on a big scale, XRP's usefulness grows on its own. It's the same as putting gas into a machine that was made to go fast. It's not about getting short-term boosts or getting caught up in the fear of missing out, FOMO, on social media. It's important to know that real adoption comes from infrastructure, and the truth is that XRP's infrastructure is better now than it has ever been. Ripple has been careful to make smart acquisitions, set up compliance frameworks, and integrate businesses. Every move lays the groundwork for what people on the inside already know is possible. Think about the following situation. One day, all global companies will use XRP to settle transactions worth billions of dollars. This helps banks quickly balance the flow of cash across continents. It's built into global rails by payment companies. ETFs, security services, and other common financial services are all connected to XRP. No longer does how people feel about XRP affect the demand curve. It is based on what is useful and necessary. For the acceptance loop to get stronger, more people need to use it. This is the kind of change that makes you look at XRP in a whole new way. No longer a token that dealers use to try to catch a short-term wave. It turns into infrastructure. It's hard to tell the difference until it isn't. You see, liquidity and utility come after infrastructure hits a certain level of mass. Price changes in a way that shows how widely it is used around the world. What does this mean then? It means that positioning is important for the individual trader who is paying attention today. Long-term promise can be understood by looking at how XRP fits into the bigger picture of finance. Top investors and people who work inside the company aren't looking at maps. They are looking at relationships, adoption, compliance, and how useful the product really is. That's the lens you should use. Every partnership, purchase, or integration adds more layers to the base. Whether XRP becomes an important part of the world's banking system or stays a niche experiment depends on the work that can't be seen. At this very moment, everything is coming together. In crypto, that is one of the few times when having a good plan can really make a difference. You can already see the dominoes getting ready to fall. Other institutions will follow once the first big usage goal has been met. As the system grows, speed increases, and XRP becomes an important part of how money moves around the world. The story here is more than just interesting. It's about infrastructure meeting real-world demand, which has a history of producing huge benefits for early adopters who see the change. If you've been paying close attention to XRP, you know the signs. When prices are calm, it doesn't mean that nothing is happening. It means getting ready. Systems are being put through lots of stress tests, regulatory requirements are being met, and big players are quietly lining up. If you want to buy at the lower levels before the market as a whole notices, it will be too late. Now, if you want to stay ahead of the next big financial wave, you won't have to rush to catch it when it hits the mainstream.